Welcome to the Healers Café, conversations on health and healing with Dr. Manon.
Hello and welcome to the Healers Café. Today I have the pleasure of having an interview with Mike Marschhausen, and he's a holistic health coach, intuitive healer, empath, and highly sensitive person. Years after his deployment to Afghanistan as a United States Army infantryman, he found out he was suffering from PTSD. Using all that he had learned about health and healing prior to his diagnosis, he began diving even deeper into his healing journey to successfully heal. And I'm not going to read any further your bio. Welcome, and tell us a little bit, whether it's that journey or your initial journey. How did you find yourself in the healing field?
Thank you so much for having me here, Dr. Manon. And there are a couple aspects within there. Or there are two main significant awakening points that I had. And the first one was, so the second one was definitely more of like the spiritual awakening, you might say. But this was, I can definitely could say, very spiritual. So the first awakening was this feeling that I had for the first time of I'm not stuck the way I am. And that, I always I felt I had a lot of brain fog and didn't ever really feel very like smart or confident, and, poor focus. And it just thought that's how I was. And, I was studying nutrition at the time in undergrad, and was just, starting to get more into just not just what I was being taught there, but, learning other things too, and learn some stuff about like gut health. And I was actually just, decided to do like a paleo diet for, just try it out. I was hearing some stuff about it, and not for weight loss. I was and this was after Afghanistan too, and I had put on a lot of muscle there. So I was a pretty big fit dude, but I definitely wouldn't say I was the healthiest. And then after that, I had all these symptoms just like went away, and the brain fog and all this stuff. And I was just like, what just happened? Like I had so much energy all throughout the day, like, from when I woke up to when I went to sleep. And it was just like, what is going on? Like my brain was sharper, and I was, was like doing better on tests. And so that was this first like, whoa, like I'm not stuck the way I am. I can do something, and, to change, to have a different outcome in my life. So that was the first kind of awakening. And then that led down to, then I wanted to study clinical nutrition, and ended up studying with some great people. But then left that master's degree to just travel the world and start my own business, and start doing teaching, doing personal training and health coaching. So I was going down that road, and married my wife, and then we went off to Bali and just started traveling, working online, and helping people, and we had a podcast and everything. But then I was struggling a lot, and then so throughout the time I was just continuing learning of the root cause of, well, why, okay, like I just changed something and I felt better, and I'm going to keep doing that because I like feeling better. So why don't some people change? Like why are some people stuck with these patterns for so long? And so I was constantly exploring that, and then just my understanding of nutrition was developing, and then I started to realize that it had a lot more to do with relationships with food, relationships with their body, relationships with themselves, and then now realizing relationship with God and how that all relates. And so that's when I got into belief systems and doing all that. So I was studying that for my clients, and then on my end, I was struggling to figure things out for myself, and just make more money to continue living this awesome life and traveling around. And there was at one point in Portugal, and I had a lot of client, just like all these like sales calls lined up, and just like so much, and things looked like they're about to be going great, but I was just like so stressed out, and my appendix ended up bursting. And looking back at it now, I see that it was from the stress, even though I was in Portugal, so maybe I was eating a little extra cheesecake, a little more wine than usual, but other than that, like I was taking pretty good care of myself. And and I was still susceptible to that, and it's so that would make, I had to slow down, and the stress was really kind of preventing me from moving forward in life. And so fast forward a little bit to the second awakening, which was in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. I spent about a year there, but this time I was there for 6 months. And
actually, I'm going to stop you there because I want to
go
get
ahead.
some clarification on the first level, because you raised something that I think is so needed right now to be heard, is that you have to change something for change to happen. Right? It's so obvious and so basic, and yet that's the biggest fear. People are afraid typically to change things, and yet they get upset about things how they are,
Mm.
their health. And so, can we just go into, because you lived it, it appears very like, well, I'm going to do this and I'll just try that and see how it feels. Like, so it was very kind of a light way of approaching change. Can
Mhm.
can you go a little bit more into that, the mindset that allowed you, and the circumstances that prompted you to just make a change and see the results, which then you accepted because obviously they were good, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. The first word that comes up, when you ask that question is responsibility. And it comes to a place where, taking self-responsibility. And I think that's, among the top core things that anyone needs when it comes to transformation, right? They need a commitment and responsibility, right? They have to realize that they are the ones who are responsible for the change, maybe not responsible for how they got there if they're just acting unconsciously since a very early age. But once you become aware, then it's your responsibility. Only you can change you. And yeah, I definitely agree that that's probably one of the most because important things needed right now. But then because also what's the opposite of that? It's victim mentality.
Mhm.
And that's probably one of the most destructive forces in terms that you can have within your mindset, and even in terms of psychoneuroimmunology. So even in terms of your health, having a victim mindset is really going to actually make your health worse. So it was the self-responsibility, but then also for me it was just excitement and passion that kind of kept me going.
Mhm.
And after it happened, and yeah, I don't know if it's something about that kind of the rebel nature that I have to just in general, then I'm not going to do things the way everyone else is going to do it. I'm just going to do my own thing and not really caring. And then mixed with also maybe some elements of the deployment, and after just a year or two prior being deployed for a year in Afghanistan. And I think that kind of added to my don't give a F attitude.
Yeah, Mike, we're going to have to repeat that part. It went weird. After the other part where you're explaining with the deployment. So there was a part that was your radical nature, and then you said, and there's another part, and that was.
Yeah, I think I was talking about the rebel nature, and then also and then just having been in Afghanistan a couple of years prior, which I think kind of created, not necessarily in the best way, maybe definitely some shadow elements to it, but this don't give a heck attitude. So it's just I'm just gonna do this because why not? It kind of changed something in there and that was also an initiation process too into manhood that that I had not had, and that pretty much nobody in society, our Western society, has anymore. We don't have ceremonies and rites of passage and initiation.
Yes.
So that was an initiation into adulthood, right? So I think I was able to use some of that adulthood and self-responsibility that happened there to be able to take it and to just be and then just follow the passion.
Mm. And when you because you said you were fit, obviously coming out of an army training, what made you, what was the element in the transformation that made you decide, oh, I'm going to try paleo diet? What was the thing that were you trying to fix something, or you were trying, what was why did you go that route?
Just curiosity, really.
Curiosity. Okay. And I think that's brilliant, because I think it starts with curiosity, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes, we try something because we're curious, and curious as in, obviously if the net result for you would be that you felt terrible and weak and awful, you would stop
Yeah.
it. But you found by trying it, just being curious, you felt significantly more energetic.
Yeah.
And
And
that
how
you,
many people, do a diet out of curiosity, right? It's usually out of self-abuse and punishment and, it's just
correct.
like self-shame. And so it's like, no wonder why, that's not gonna stick because you didn't do it from a place of love, really, or
Um,
curiosity.
I so agree. Yeah, I think that's the key, really, at least in the work I've done and seen. It's even the word die, it, you know, dying. You have to see the potential of the benefit and commit to it. And if it doesn't work, it's not the right one. Because we don't know what it is, but you have to have that commitment and, like you say, take that self responsibility. Otherwise, nothing's going to show you anything except for your own constant failures, and you'll just use that as your ammunition why nothing works. So
Yeah. And just
yeah,
reinforce the mentality.
exactly. So then you said you had a second sort of awakening, so let's go with that.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd say the first one is kind of boring compared to this one, to me at least. But I guess, as I talk about it now, it was extremely important. So yeah, the second one came right. Here I am, just really kind of like obsessing, trying to fix myself, really, and fix my mind and reprogram my subconscious mind. I started reading all these books about subconscious and mindset and belief systems, and doing everything I could to just to address mine. And then, so we were in Mexico and we met this woman, and who, we found a dog the second day that we were there, and we ended up keeping her. And we met a lot of people through her, and she's awesome. But we met this woman who said that she was, we were telling her about the dog. She said she was clairvoyant, and that she could give us some info about the dog and like do some healing. And I was like, sure, okay. I didn't really even know too much about like what a clairvoyant was or what that meant. And so for other people who don't, it's a way of psychic seeing, right? And so one of the psychic senses, or is it the term that envelops all of them, or is it just one of them? Do you remember?
I'm not sure, but
I might,
think it's like a psychic sense. It's
yeah,
like seeing the sixth sense, or it's another way of seeing things, right?
yeah,
That not everyone has, or not everyone has tuned into the possibility, I think.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so we were like, yeah, sure. And then she, said some stuff about the dog, and said she did like a little healing, and then she started talking to my wife and our friend, and then me, and then ended up like just like doing like a little like spontaneous healing like at this restaurant in Mexico with them too. And then to me, she looked at me and said, was talking to me, and she said, oh, I think you would like theta healing. Like that seems like it would resonate with you. And because it's a type of energy healing that's well known for reprogramming the subconscious mind. And I was like, hey, that's what I'm trying to do. So I picked it up. I was like, this book? And she said, yeah. So I was like, okay. So I got it and read through it and started practicing. And so at this point, I started this. I guess the spiritual awakening was like already starting to happen around this time. I started getting chills very intensely, very very frequently, like I had never had before. And then I started to be able to like relate it to like some type of truth whenever there was some type of truth or like a message or something important. I would get chills throughout my body at different places, different intensities. And so I read this book and I started practicing. And then when asking the digging questions that it teaches to get to the particular beliefs that you're working on, I would get chills on whatever one was the belief that we're working for, like 100% of the time. And
Can you mention the name of the book? Because I'm sure everyone's wondering, what book is this?
it's called Theta Healing.
Theta Healing. Okay. And the author?
I'm gonna butcher her name. It's like Vienna Stabal. I don't know how to read that.
Yeah.
Spell that
Okay.
for you.
We'll,
But if you
we'll
just
put
look
it
up,
in the link
you'll find
underneath.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely find it. And so I'm having like these experiences. Like I'm feeling something when I do it on myself. People I'm practicing it with, like they're having like an immediate like response, like knowing something changes. And sometimes I'm just doing like the work without saying anything, and then like this person's having a response. And so again, here I am coming from like this, a science background, a military background. Like this is completely new to me and not like blowing my mind. And I'm just like not really even believing it you know, the whole time. But I'm still like, so there's part of me that's like in it and doing it. Another part of me is like, I'm like, what? This doesn't make any sense. And that part was there for like a couple of years. But anyway, so I was like, all right, I got to learn more. So I flew to Miami from Playa, or from Cancun, to go to a training for it. And yeah, I texted my cousin, see if he wanted to join. He went. And yeah, this ended up being not so much a, oh, here's how you do it, very textbook kind of thing. It was actually more like a small, intimate, like healing retreat. Yeah, and Joyce she's the one who was the facilitator. She's awesome. And so this was more so the awakening here, because and this is where I really got some understood like trauma, because I was having massive trauma releases. And at one point, my body was just convulsing and shaking on the ground and shivering, but I was warm, and I was just like so much, and just like so much energetic just release and emotional release. And so this was to me like the awakening thing, that all this was happening. And this wasn't even about the PTSD stuff yet. This was just like other stuff. And this is where I learned about past lives. I didn't know really anything about it, but here, you know, I'm having visceral body responses and reactions to them, and just all this kind of all this stuff. And afterwards, you know, I left and was just like, this is what I'm meant to do. I just know it. And like said to my cousin, like, we have to help people with this. Like at the time we wanted to help men with it, but still working on that. I've worked with 99% women since. And yeah, so that was the second open, and that just opened the doors. Yeah, that blew open my psychic senses. And so where I didn't have to like ask all these questions and wait to get chills, I could help people just you know, connect to it really quickly. And then ended up kind of developing my own healing style from there, just from the clients that I was working with. And you know, almost as if like I was being guided through spirit, showing me how to do things. You know, each new session or each new client, yeah, was like kind of like spirit teaching me something about how to do healing work. And that just kind of has been developing ever since. So I'll leave it there for now, and then I can eventually take you into the healing of the PTSD. But that was the second big thing, and how I got into doing this healing work now, and how that completely changed my life.
Wow, yeah, it's definitely a from a superficial point, a huge transformation from a mindset that seems unlikely to, you know, something completely different. Then wow, that's quite the journey.
Yeah, you know, I was beer drinking meathead. I was in the infantry, like, you know.
Hi, this is a small commercial break, and for you to let me know that you're enjoying these conversations, please go 1, to subscribe to my podcast. Number 2, write a review, because if you write a review on iTunes, more people know about this, and I can help spread the work, my work, but the work of everyone else I'm interviewing. And number 3, please sign up to my tips for your healing journey. And you can do that under www.drmanonbolliger.com/tips. Thank you. And it's funny, I was going to ask you this question, but it's like, and it's a sort of a side point, but you're in the journey while helping people, at the same time feeling guided, right? And I was reading in a post you wrote on the healthy empath, you write, confidence is when the heart and soul unite. And I loved that statement. I just thought, can you a little bit expand on that before we get into the PTSD specifically? But
on the quote,
talk about empath.
Oh, it cut out for a second.
Yeah.
Sorry. Can you just repeat it one more time?
If you could expand a little bit on the code.
Heart and soul unite.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I just gotta. So yeah, that was a quote. So actually, I found that quote in one of my notebooks of all the quotes I keep, and so I wasn't actually sure if I came up with that or someone else did, but yeah. And then so that definitely did happen right there, because you know my heart and soul united, and so I just like stepped into this place of doing this work with these people, and you know, just whereas a lot of other people, a lot of other healers too, especially we talk about the wounded healer archetype. They don't really feel ready for that. They don't feel comfortable with that yet. I got to wait till I get a couple more certifications. I got to wait till I help a few more people do this, or I have to work with people for either free or really cheap for a long time. And so they're not really like in that place of confidence. And so not that I'm always definitely have been in that place, but I at that time I definitely was, because there was this huge opening of my heart and this connection with my soul.
Mhm.
And then they were like, guiding me into doing this healing work. And I just had this knowing of, this is what I have to do. There's no other option. Like there is not one. And so, I would love to, even for myself, to get back to that right now again. It comes in waves. But I think that, it's such a powerful place to be, because then you're into knowing when that happens, not just like believing, or you're not acting, right? You just knowing.
I love that we're talking about this, because one of the things I do, I train healthcare practitioners, or practitioners in general, to become Bowen therapists, which is a physical modality, but I integrate all of my knowledge also on trauma and awakening in that sense. And we talk about confidence, and what is confidence? And for me, when I read that quote, I went, oh my gosh, it speaks to me so deeply, and explains a process that it's well said, because I feel like when I'm in that state, which, as you say, you're not constantly, or I'm not constantly in it, I can feel it, but it's like a download state. You just feel a deep connection, and you're guided, and your client becomes your teacher. It's like there's, the next steps become obvious, and you don't need to think about it, and it doesn't matter how many degrees. That's really never going to make the difference. I have found that most of the healing that happens now, the information is there, but it's not the guiding thing that helps towards that transformation. And so anyway, I wanted to share that, because it really spoke to me.
Yeah, another word that comes up when we talk about that is power, and I think you could also throw that in there, right? Because if you the confidence and the union of the heart and soul, like then you're in your place of power, right? And when you're in your place of power, you're confident. Of course, you are. So I think that's a great depiction of how to be powerful too, because then again, that's relating to the wounded healer, who are so afraid of their power.
Right. Yeah. So that's how you see the wounded healer are the healers afraid of their own power.
That's definitely a part of it that I see for sure.
Let's talk about that for a moment. What is the wounded healer for you?
So a typical the wounded healer, and like that archetype, of course, you think of classically, it's the person who got into healing work because they had to heal themselves. So very simply, that's kind of like I forget, probably originating with Carl Jung, but so, and then for me too, that was just like what drives this constant curiosity, that desire, this passion. And a lot of the time it's the desire to fix yourself. Of course, you have to come to a place where you realize, like, you don't need to be fixed, and you'll get a lot more healing that way. But that's something that you really have to go through. Even just like hearing that intellectually isn't gonna cut it. You still have this feeling of, I have to if I could just fix this, then then that'll happen. And so and that's definitely been a driving force for me through everything, through all the healing, and through my curiosity and my passion and the discipline. And so this is, I guess one of the positive sides to the wounded healer, not necessarily the shadow side, is that it drives my curiosity, it drives my passion, it just drives me wanting to be better, wanting to learn more healing modalities. And so that's kind of the transformed wounded healer that I want to carry with me forever. It's not like we don't want to necessarily make the wounded healer go away. We transform it and like face the shadow, and then the shadow aspect of it, is the smallness that and that kind of keeps you, and the fear that keeps you from stepping into those places of power. And I kind of coined a term called the light ego. And I think this is related to the wounded healer. And so this is, you know, that part of the ego, or the voice, or part of the shadow, that wants to keep you small, and that tells you, you know, not to, you know, not to take on that responsibility, you know, not to, you know, charge, you know, certain amount of money, if any, and definitely doesn't want you, you know, speaking your truth in front of a bunch of people, and, you know, doing all that stuff, because, you know, you could hurt somebody's feelings, and you might cause conflict, and, you know, what if somebody doesn't like you, and all those different things. And also, to me, when I've done healing around this, I've also a kind of an image that comes up, whether this is just an actual past life, or whether this is just you know, mental imagery to teach the lesson, is a monk who wants to serve God so much, but from such a place of fear, and he's so afraid to do anything wrong because, you know, doesn't want to be judged by God, or judged to be unholy. So he's so afraid to do really anything. And, you know, definitely doesn't want to touch money, definitely doesn't want any, like, you know, type of intimate relationships, you know, because what if he has, you know, desires for certain people, and like all these kind of things. So he just keeps you from living your life through this, like, and it keeps you to stay small. And, you know, and this is like this idea that so many healers and empaths have, right, of like, that's what it means to be holy. And so a quote that came up when, you know, doing work around this is, "I'd rather be whole than holy." So we should never seek to be holy, because that's not even like a real thing, or at least not the way we perceive it, like these ascended masters, and, oh, well, Jesus maybe wouldn't have done that. It's like, you know, what he would have done. And, you know, so it's just like, you know, you want to be in your wholeness, and you want to own and embrace your shadow, and that's how you can, you know, transcend and transform that wounded healer archetype within you.
Yeah. Derek Rydell comes to mind with his work on emergence, where I think he really speaks to the wounded healer as well, and that place of wholeness, which I think is his name came.
What was the last name?
Rydell, Derek Rydell.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's really he does quite amazing work putting that together and helping mostly. I mean, it's, you know, all people, but who he attracts are the wounded healers. And the transformation is embracing the shadow side and ending up in your power. So it's anyway, I just thought I'd share that, because
thank you.
It came to mind, and I think it's so important. And I love the way you tie in that, you know, that the aspect of the belief system, that therefore you can't charge, therefore, you know, it's like you diminish all of what you are based on this not embracing all of who you are. And, you know, I know with a lot of practitioners, it's like, well, I'm not good enough yet, and you know, it's like, no, you know, you've come here to, you know, to help people, and this is where the healer's journey is really you know, significant. So great.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to now go to PTSD and what you did and what happened.
Okay. Yeah. So for that, what happened was, so maybe after that Theta Healing weekend, I think we're maybe 6 months in now. So what happened was, actually, my mom heard me on a podcast, just kind of, I wasn't really making a joke, but I was making light of something and kind of making a joke of it, saying how, like, I was afraid to walk on dirt roads for like years afterwards. And, like, you know, probably I said I still was, but I mean, yeah, for like 5 years, but again, like, you know, still could feel it. And so, yeah, just she heard me mention something like that, just because of an experience that happened when I was there. And she said something to me, and like, I don't know, just like something struck within me. And so that kind of like got me to go a little deeper into it. And then, yeah, eventually go like talk to, you know, someone who would, a professional who could be like, oh yeah, like that's, you know, PTSD, like, so who would actually, like, diagnose, not, this isn't just me, like, oh yeah, I definitely had it. Like, this is also from a professional's opinion as well. And so not severe, super severe PTSD, like what some people have experienced, where, like not sleeping as all, like can't hold a job, not sleeping, but it was definitely affecting me in a lot of ways. And yeah, so hearing that was actually kind of it was quite a relief.
Mm.
And then, yeah, I could definitely still feel it. And yeah, just like because right, just had this feeling of always wanting to fix myself, or something's wrong with me, and then just so to have that kind of like that validation, and someone like, and just being able to like put some of the pieces together and just be, oh, that all makes sense now, like, because, and then also, now learning about like the empath and the highly sensitive person kind of things, and how I check a lot of the boxes there. And so seeing like a lot of, so going back to like when my appendix burst, so like all that stress, from the business and from everything, and just like, like it was triggering on the stresses, the unresolved trauma, and the fear that was still in my body. And that's why I was having such a hard time, and with reaching my goals, with, and then why having the health thing, and then also with what it took for me to maintain even keel. Like, I had to eat super healthy, exercise almost every day, meditate every day, do deep breathing, go for long walks. Like, I was doing all this stuff, but I realized it was coping, right? And that we often hear a lot about that when it comes to PTSD. Oh, how do you manage? How do you cope? And some of my perspectives now, it's like, I don't want to manage and cope. I want to heal. I want to transform.
Yeah.
You can. And so yeah, and that's what I realized. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been like coping all this whole time. And then how do I want to go into that healing? And then, so that's kind of, what I just started using a lot of the healing work that I was doing, and start working on that. There was one summer where did a lot of sessions with other people, all these women who had various forms of PTSD, from a lot of, sexual abuse, definitely a lot. And then even some from, like some hospital like surgeries, and some from just, abuse of parents in different ways. And so no they're soldiers, but it's just working with all these people with these trauma. And then so that was actually a really big healing experience for me, was facilitating the healing for these other people, especially because, it's not like when you work with like a therapist in an office, and you're kind of like, sitting there together, and like one person's the expert, it's just like me, not even like on camera, and just like in my room, online. So like, I'm like crying like every single session, just like crying, releasing at the same time, as well as I'm guiding them through their experiences. And so that was, doing the healing work that I do now, which isn't necessarily data healing. I don't really even know what to call it. My favorite way to explain is saying I help people experience themselves, because that's really what's happening. And you're just being a gentle guide to help somebody go into their own, inner landscape, to be able to, process and work with whatever's going on there. And so, I did a lot of that. And then I went to the VA. There was a yoga therapy program, and they had, at the end of the session, they had a gong sound bath. So I fell in love with sound healing there. And so, doing a lot of the physical stuff. So sound healing and yoga therapy, acupuncture, really enjoyed, and doing, but the main part was really and then a lot of time just like in nature and self-reflection. But the biggest thing was just being on the journey, just like saying yes to the journey, and allowing whatever healing experiences come along the way. And then just like taking the emotions as they come, knowing how to work with them, and then doing sessions with other people, doing sessions with some friends who they were clients, and then I helped them kind of own, their own inner healer. And then so they ended up, doing a lot of stuff for me. And so those are some of the biggest elements of, healing through that. And then kind of, a big kind of conclusion piece of the puzzle was the second time in Mexico, when I did various plant medicine ceremonies using different things. And actually, in particular, this isn't a plant medicine, but I had one sweat lodge experience that was actually one of the most profound healing experiences I've ever had before, and what happened in there. And so then, they were all these, and that's where I kind of learned about it. So it was, a lot of it is about safety, right? When you're dealing with trauma, you need to feel safe on earth. You need to feel safe in your body. And so going through these experiences to feel more safe within yourself. And so yeah, that was probably some of the biggest things that I've used along the way were those things. I can get into any more of them specifically if we have time, or whatever you're thinking.
Mm. No, well, the other thing I want to touch, because we are coming close to the end, but I wanted to also to touch about the healthy empath, because that's the title of, is it your blog or
Yeah, the brand and
the brand? Yeah. And I wanted you to explain what empath is and what a healthy empath is. I think that would be.
Yeah, this I kind of came through when I was working with all these different people, and this concept of the empath was rising, which traditionally just like referred to as people who can feel the energies of other things, right? So from other people, or even just from nature, different animals, whatever, they can feel those subtle energies, whether they even know it or not. And that's like one of the problems with empaths is a lot of times they don't know that's what they're feeling.
Right.
And then, yeah, so for me, being an empath is really just, I see it as like a heightened sensitivity and a heightened like awareness, and being able to feel those other things. But I guess one of the ways I see it is almost like a vortex. I see empaths as vortex, and I think like all the empaths collectively are serving as like vortexes for the collective consciousness, right? So they're bringing in. So I also have this suspicion that everyone is an empath at some level,
Right.
which a lot of people kind of like leave out. But I was like, at the end of the day, everyone is actually sensitive to those things, whether they know it or not, or at least they could be. But maybe some are more than others. And so for those people who are more than others, or who are aware of it, I see, there's more energy coming in, and it's like a filtration process to kind of cleanse the energy of the earth, of human consciousness, for the evolution of the consciousness. And so one of the problems with that is people, the way that you have to do that is by embarking on your own healing journey. And a lot of people just get caught kind of that the victim state. No, I'm an empath, I can just feel all these other things. But well, why are you feeling it? And what are you doing with it?
Yeah.
And it's not just like some like curse or some disease, and so ideally, and then that's where the healthy empath comes in. So the healthy empath recognizes that you're like that for a reason. And then it's important for you to embrace your own healing journey, because that's where it starts, because you can't start filtering all this other energy if you have so much stuck of your own energy blocked, and your energy body isn't healthy. Then it's just going to be triggering on whatever is in you, and that's going to be dragging you down. But when you do your own healing work and you heal your energy body, then it's not able to trigger on all those things and make you sick and stuck in these negative patterns. So the healthy empath is a resilient empath, and an empowered person who takes the responsibility for their own health, and even for these subtle energies that are coming in, and knowing that that's part of the reason why you're here, to help transform these energies. So don't try to send it back to somebody. Don't try to block it and shield it from somebody, right? Just go within your own being and continue to do your own healing work. And by the nature of doing that, you'll be filtering out those energies, and you'll be helping the collective that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's always I think it's really not being stuck in a label. That's part of it, is like, and I can see, I have a book called What Patients Don't Say, Doctors Don't Ask, and it's really all about the diagnosis, which often is a curse. Sometimes, like in your case, PTSD, okay, now it makes sense, you understand, and what you did about it is the whole point. It's like oh, it's like an awakening of possibility, but it's not an answer. It's just a step along the solution, right? And I can see the way you describe empath. It's like, okay, oh, that makes sense. That's why I feel so much. And now, what does that mean? And how can I, use that knowledge to move myself forward rather than go, oh, poor me, here I am. That's why I'm dysfunctional, So,
Yeah, go back to
yeah,
that victim mentality,
exactly. Yeah.
which is the biggest curse of the empath. I see that so much.
Yeah, totally. So, any last words and any way that, like that you'll send us a couple things that people can find out more about you, and yeah, any last words you want to leave?
Well, just that this was a pleasure, and I really enjoyed it. And I am working on the Healthy Empath book, which is going over a lot of like my healing journey. And so like the first part of it is going to be the unseen part, and which is the spiritual, the unseen, and then the second half is going to be all like the physical health practices that you can do. And I'll also relating that to what I say like the two keys of healing I see are relaxation and like nourishment. So all the healing work, all the spiritual, all of that is really what's it doing to you physically is relaxing your nervous system, relaxing your body, and opening up. Right? I heard a at a podcast several years I was listening to right the concept that the body's programming is to heal itself. So you need to make space for that by relaxing, by calming the nervous system, and then the physical is bringing in the nourishment. What does it need now? What are the building blocks to grow up from there? And so I'm working on the book, but in the meantime, I'm creating a YouTube series until the book is out to help people. So just Instagram, The Healthy Empath, is going to be the easiest way. You can connect with me there, and then that's where you'll get the notifications for that stuff.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, and I look forward to your book.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it so much. It's been awesome.
Thank you for joining us at the Healers Café with Dr. Manon. For more information, go to drmanonbolliger.com.